Hello, good day viewers. In today's tutorial, I will introduce the Bayes Theorem. So, in Bayes Theorem, how can we apply the Bayes Theorem to solve a problem if we have been given? So, therefore, it has a formula, which is what? The conditional probability. So, suppose I have the probability of what? Of A over V. The probability of A over V is the same thing as what? Probability of what? Of A and V divided by the probability of what? Probability of V. And therefore, again, probability of V over A is the same thing as what? Is the same thing as probability of what? Also A and V, but divided by the probability of what? Probability of A. So, you have to take note that this is the same thing as this. If I cross multiply, I'll have the probability of A and V should now be equals to what? Should now be equals to probability of A by V multiplied by probability of what? Probability of B. And therefore also if I cross multiply both sides, okay, if I cross multiply, I'll get probability of A and what? A and B, it is equals to what? The probability of what? Of V against what? A multiplied by probability of A. So, as you all know, this is the same thing as this and this is the same thing as this. So I have to say this should now be equals to this. Probability of what? So, the next thing I should now say probability of A against B multiplied by probability of what? V. So this should now be equals to what? The probability of what? Of B against what? Against A multiplied by what? Multiplied by the probability of A. As you can see, the probability against both of them, this is the same thing as this, and also this is the same thing as what? Is the same thing as this. So, what will be the next thing that I'm going to do? The next thing that I'm going to do, I have to multiply both sides, or let me say I have to divide both sides by probability of what? Probability of V divide both sides by also probability of V. This will go with this. The next thing to do is that I have the probability of A divided by V should now be equals to what? The probability of V against A multiplied by the probability of what? Probability of A divided by the probability of what? Probability of B. So this is the Bayes theorem formula. So make sure you write this formula down. Suppose so let's go through with some example. Suppose I have A. I has 1, 2, 3, 4, and let me add 5. So let me say V. I have from what? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So therefore, if I take a look to this and say, I'm looking for the probability of what? Probability of A against what? A against B. So how can I find? I'm looking for probability of what? A first, and also I'm looking for probability of B, and then I'm looking for what? The probability of what? Of B against what? V against E. So let's say I have a Venn diagram. So what will be the sample space? The sample space should now be from what? From 1 to off to what? Off to 9. So therefore A, I have what? I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, but I have 4 and 5, but 4 and 5 affairs in A and V. So therefore I'll have what? 4 and what? And 5 here. And therefore the rest I'll have 6, 7, 8, and what? And 9. So what should be the probability of A? Probability of A, I have to count the all elements inside what? Inside A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll now say what? 5 over what? Over the total sample space, which is what? 9. Also, probability of B, I have to count the all elements inside what? B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which is 6 divided by what? Divided by the value of what? Value of 9. So the next thing that I'm going to do is that what will be the probability of B against A? So I have to take a look to probability probability of B first. If I take a look to probability of B, this is probability of B. Yeah. So, but as you can see, I have how many numbers that affairs in this and also affairs in this? I have only 2 numbers. So therefore, in this probability of B, 4 and 5 also affairs in that of probability of E. So therefore, I have to say I have what? The first thing to do, I'm looking for a fraction. We all know one number divided by what? One number. So probability of B and probability of A. First, just take a look at probability of A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have the total what? Of 5. So therefore, I have to say by 5. So what will be my what? Numerator. The numerator should now be, I will just take a look to what? To probability of A and B. How many numbers are faced in A and B? There are 2 numbers, so therefore I have to say 2. So this is the probability of B against what? B against A. So the next thing that I'm going to do is that I have to say, using the formula, probability of A against what? A against B should not be equal to probability of B against what? Against A. Probability of what? Probability of A, all divided by the probability of what? Probability of B. So this should now be equals to what? 2 over 5 multiplied by probability of A, which is what? Which is 5 over what? 5 over 9. And all divided by the probability of B, which is 6 divided by 9. This is the same thing as 2 multiplied by 5, which is 10 divided by 9 multiplied by 5, which is 45, all divided by what? 6 over 9. And then I'll say it's the same thing as saying 10 over value of what? 45. If I do the reciprocal, this is division, so therefore I have to multiply. If I multiply, the 6 should go back to the denominator, and the denominator will come back as what? As the numerator. So I'll have 9 over what? 9 over 6. So 5 here, it is 2, and 5 here, which is what? 5 into 20, which is 4. So therefore I'll have what? I'll have 9. 5 into 45, which is what? 9. So therefore at the end I'll have 2 over 9 multiplied by what? 9 over 6. 9 will cancel 9. At the end I'll have 2 over 6, and 2 here, which is 1, 2 here, which is 3. So my answer, which is 1 over 3. So therefore the probability of what? A against B, which is what? 1 over 3. The next question says that in a bolt factory, machine A, B, and C manufactured 25%, 35%, and 40%. It means the probability of what? A, which is what? 0.25. Probability of what? Probability of B, which is what? 0.35. And therefore probability of what? C, which is what? 0.4. So therefore we are not going to put the percentage because this is the chances. So therefore we have to get back to the actual probability, which is what? 0.25. Because from because a probability, it is in what? Decimal or 0 point something. So after then we have to multiply by 100 so that we will get the chances. So of the total respectively, if their output 5%, 4%, 2%. So what this data means, the first question say in a bolt factory. So for instance, let the bolt factory be D. Let this bolt factory be what? Be D. So it says that if their output 5%, 4%, and 2% are defective bolts. So what it means, we all know that this is A, this is B, this is C. So this should now be what? Should now be the probability of what? This is the bolt. Probability of what? of D against A should now be what? If you convert this, should now be 0.05, and probability of what? D against B. Also, this should now be what? 0.04, and therefore probability of what? Of D against what? D against C. So this should now be 0.02. Are defective bolts. A bolt is drawn at what? At random from the product and is found to be defective. What is the probability that it was manufactured by what? It was manufactured by machine B. So if the bolt is manufactured by what? By D. So we are looking for the probability of what? V against D. So I hope you get this point. We are looking for what? Probability of what? B against what? Against D. So the next thing that I'm going to do, the general formula that we prove is this. If we are having only probability of A and B. So in this case, I'm going to say the probability of B against A. So therefore I have to say the probability of what? Of D against what? Against B, which is what? Which is this probability. Here we are in this case we are dealing with probability of A against B. So if we are dealing with probability of A against B, we are going to use B against A. If we are looking for the probability of B against A, so we are going to use the probability of what? A against B. So we are looking for probability of B against D, so therefore we are going to put the probability of D against B. I hope you get it. Then you have to multiply by the probability of B, by the probability of what? Of V. So in this case, I have probability of A, I have probability of B, I have probability of C. So in this case that we prove, we only have probability of B. So here we have to start from probability of what? Probability of A. So then I have something related to what? Something that is related to A, which is what? Which is the output. So therefore I have to multiply it by what? Probability, by the probability of what? Probability of D against A, and then I have to add it. So I'm going to say the probability of B multiplied by probability of D against what? Against B, plus probability of what? Probability of C multiplied by probability of what? D against C. So this is all. The next thing is that I have to substitute probability of this against this shall now be equal to probability of D against B. D against B should now be 0.04 multiplied by what? Probability of B, which is 0.35, and divided by the probability of A, which is 0.25 multiplied by probability of D against A, which is 0.05, plus what? Plus probability of B. Probability of B, which is 0.35 multiplied by probability of D against B. D against B, which is 0.04, and therefore plus probability of C. What is probability of C? Which is what? 0.4 multiplied by probability of D against C, which is what? 0.02. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I have to what? I have to find the solution of this. 0.004. Okay, only 0.04 multiplied by 0.35. So this should now be equals to 0.01 what? 0.014. So I have to say 0.25 multiplied by 0.05. So this should now give me what? All divided by what? 0.012 what? 125 plus what? Plus 0.35 multiplied by 0.04. So this should now be what? 0.014. The same with this. So I have to say plus 0.4 yes, multiplied by 0.02. So this should now give me 0.008, which is the same thing as 8 times 10 to the power of negative what? Of negative 3. So therefore I have to say this plus this plus this. I have to say plus 0.0125 plus 0.014. So this should now be equals to 0.014 all divided by 0.0345. So therefore I have to say 0.014 divided by answer. So this should now give me the probability of B against D should now be equal to 0.4, approximately 0.41. So therefore this is the solution of the second question. So I hope this video is more helpful to you. If this video is more helpful to you, please kindly consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. So therefore you see how we can find the simplest example and what? And the complex. Although this is not much complex, but what? It is somehow you have to concentrate on it. So don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and do share to your learning colleagues. Have a nice day.